McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you?
Hey, man, thanks for taking a few minutes.
No problem.
Let's get into some high school football. What were your takeaways from Thanksgiving?
Well, first of all, I was out at the Millville-Violin game, and it was really the first time I had ever been at that game. And what really struck me is, you hear a lot of debate about Thanksgiving Day football. Some schools have kind of dropped it behind. Other schools sort of maintain it. And what really struck me is the fan bases of those two schools really want to win that game. I mean, the roars that I heard from the crowd during the big plays, the Millville-Violin game, were, really some of the loudest cheers I've heard all season. And one thing that struck me, you go to a high school football game and, it's almost a social event. A lot of people go to just sort of hang out and stuff like that. Well, they're milling around the field and stuff like that. Well, while the game was being played, there were no lines at the snack bar. The snack bar lines were very short because everybody was kind of focused on what was happening on the field there. So, and obviously Violin came away with a big win. And, so that's what it struck me. It was my first time ever at that game. And, that game is the real deal. You hear about rivalries and stuff like that. You hear about teams say, a one-game season, you make your season by beating your rival. That rivalry, Millville-Violin, that's the real deal over there.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where if you live in Violin, you don't even like wearing a blue T-shirt around town.
Right, exactly. It's really, they started playing in 1893. They played 145 times.
Wow.
It's really the real. It's really the real deal, real rivalry, and it's just a tremendous atmosphere. Like I said, Violin, finishes the season 8-2, and kind of gives its program a boost with its third winning season since 1990.
I was pretty impressed with Absegami. I didn't know that they would have what it would take to get to 7 wins, but they really had a nice season.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an Absegami program that has kind of struggled to find its footing the last couple of years. But they come back, they get 7 wins, they beat Oakcrest on Thanksgiving. If Freaky Andy kind of emerges as a senior running back as one of the top players in Atlantic County, they get to the playoffs, they give Timber Creek, they play well against Timber Creek in the first round of the South Jersey Group 4 playoffs. So really a step forward for the Absegami Braves this season. A 7-3 season is, an excellent record for that.
Mike, I was just thinking during the break, man, this has been a fun football season to cover, and so many good seniors out there in key positions. I mean, you just go through the list. You just mentioned Freaky Andy, Bo Melton, Jesse Milser from Cedar Creek, Andrew Donahue from Ocean City, Reggie Jean Charles from Holy Spirit. Just so many good players. Davon Seymour of Vineland. This is a really good senior class of playmakers out there.
Yeah, I mean, Ezekiel Ennis of St. Augustine is another one. But, the great thing about high school football is right now, Sully, there's some kid we don't even know about. He's in the 8th grade. He's a freshman. He might be a sophomore, and he's going to emerge next season. You got Bo Melton's brother out there at Cedar Creek, who's a freshman that kind of, made some big plays so far this season. So that's the great thing about high school football is you mentioned a lot of names, great kids who had great careers. But there's, it's a natural rebuilding process. There are kids we don't even know about coming behind them that are going to take their place. And 3 years from now, we'll be talking about what a great career they had. So that's the beauty of high school football right there.
Mike, let's talk about some of these championship games. First off, South Jersey Group 5, man, that should be a heck of a game. Toms River North versus Millville. Toms River North kind of was cruising all season and then really got tested by Atlantic City in the first round of the playoffs. They woke up in the second round and got an easy win, but Millville, that's going to be a tough matchup for Toms River North.
Yeah, Toms River North is the defending champion, and if you can win back-to-back South Jersey Group 5 titles, I mean, you're really, that says something about your program. The quarterback, Mike Uzzani is a tremendous player. He can run and throw the football. And like you said, they dominated every opponent this season. The one sort of question mark on the resume is the Atlantic City game. Atlantic City went up there as the number 8 seed and, almost upset them. Tom's River North kind of won that game in the fourth quarter. So that's the only game that you look at that kind of raises some question marks about Tom's River North. But overall, a tremendous season last year, a tremendous season this year. And you look at Millville. Millville, even though they lose to Violin, it's a very tough spot for Millville. They're playing Rancocas Valley on Friday night. They have the emotional semifinal playoff win on Friday night. They beat Rancocas 32-15, and then they come back and play a fired-up Violin team that was really, playing its championship game, a Violin team that hadn't played in almost 2 weeks, a well-rested Violin team. And, it was just too much for Millville, both emotionally and physically. When you look at that game, and Millville is tremendous. Clayton Scott at running back, Marcel Ramos at wide receiver, Tristan Harris at quarterback, Zach Douglas at linebacker, Carlton Lawrence at wide receiver. He got banged up in the Violin game. You hope he's all right for that title game. The question I think there is Millville's speed. Atlantic City's speed gave Tom's River North some problems. Is Millville's speed going to be able to do the same thing?
Talking with Mike McGarry, the press of Atlantic City. Mike, I know a game that a lot of people in South Jersey are fired up for is the South Jersey Group 2 Championship next Sunday at 11 a.m. at Rowan. West Deptford versus Cedar Creek, a rematch of last year. It's kind of seemed to me like West Deptford still hasn't forgotten that loss, and they've been focused on that all season long. Seems like they're a team on a mission. But Cedar Creek, they have the type of athletes that can change a game with one play. So we'll see how that plays out. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, of course, Cedar Creek, as you mentioned, beat them last year, and West Deptford is, in the midst of another impressive season. They rolled past Paulsboro last night. I think it was like 50-something to 27. They beat a very good Paulsboro team last night. They're 11-0. But you hit it on the head right there, and it's kind of the way last year's game went. Bo Melton is back, after a slow start to this season. The last 5 or 6 games, he's scored, at least, I think, 2 touchdowns in every game. And he has the ability to change a game every time he touches the football. And, with Isaiah Watson and Jesse Milzer at quarterback, Isaiah Watson at running back, Nazir Chapman at wide receiver, Owen Bowles on the defensive line. Cedar Creek has players who can change the game with one, with one play. So, the question going in is going to be the same question that West Deptford faced last year: is can they slow down Bo Melton and can they limit the big play against Cedar Creek? If Cedar Creek makes enough big plays, they can win back-to-back South Jersey titles.
Mike, before we let you go, do you think Holy Spirit has enough in that running game to take down Mater Dei? Obviously, I haven't seen Mater Dei play yet this year, and they've typically been a team that struggles in football. But last couple of years they've kind of rebounded. They're 10-0. What can we expect from that game? Yeah,
Mater Dei, solid program, solid team. George Pearson at quarterback is excellent. He threw a couple of long passes against St. Joe, and that was really the difference in that semifinal game. I think Holy Spirit has enough to make that game competitive. I think defensively with Dante Daniel, they're going to be right there. If they can limit the big play, the big passes that St. Joe didn't limit against Mater Dei, I think Holy Spirit will be fine. And I think Holy Spirit should be able to maybe move the football a little bit better than St. Joe did with Justin Figueroa and Reggie Jean Charles at quarterback, maybe mix running back rather, and maybe mix in some passes also. So I think Holy Spirit, a slight underdog in that game, but I do think Holy Spirit defensively and offensively has enough, to win that game.
Good stuff, Mike. Hate to cut you short, but we got to stay on schedule here. We got Matt Cedar coming up at the bottom of the hour, so I know everybody's excited. I know everybody's excited to hear from him, so we got to cut you a little bit short today.
I understand that totally, and Matt had a great season, so and he's doing a great job out there. So I understand that. Thanks for a few minutes, Sully.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it as always. We'll catch up with you next week.
See you later. Take care.
That was Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City.